A lot of times we don't give enough time for us to get good at something, to get proficient at it, to really let the momentum build up. Because, like anything, we have to overcome the initial friction for it to really take off.
Hey, hey, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And I am so excited to spend time with my friend TaVona Denise. So, TaVona shows entrepreneurs how to become sought after for their area of expertise and sell their services without relying on social media or complicated funnels or huge email lists. I'm a big fan of this. I'm going to tell you some backstory as we go through this because I was absolutely Instagram phobic. I was scared of having my pictures taken and all of that. And I know a lot of people, that's where you start, right? So her low tech, anti social media approach, which she calls minimalist marketing, has helped clients generate six figures in their business by positioning themselves as the go to for their area of expertise and building a reputation that makes key players within their industry invite them to the bigger stages for wider visibility and credibility with their ideal clients. So they stop hearing, I need to think about it, I can't afford it. When she's not helping people build their dream businesses, you'll find her deep in an audiobook, singing karaoke, and enjoying life by the water. And that is why TaVona and I are about to become besties, because I like she and I have a feeling, TaVona, if we were to go and hang out and we were like at a lake house, we could probably be very happy sitting next to each other not talking and then very excitedly talking about what we just learned in our books.
Right. And then we got to go for karaoke because I
And
heard
then
you're a singer too.
yes, that's actually one of the ways that I got over my fear of people and talking to people. I'm like, if you can embarrass yourself in karaoke, then you're going to be just okay in like any kind of business environment, any other kind of, the DM conversations. Anyway, I digress. TaVona, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. I can't wait to see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big fan of like meeting yourself where you are when you're building a business, especially like I focus mostly on working with people in coaching businesses and consulting, doing expertise based businesses. And I started my business with 8 names on a post-it. That was my list. So I want to know your backstory. Like what drew you to minimalist marketing?
Ooh. Well, what drew me to minimalist marketing, I think it was what I was doing before the pandemic. And I, like many people, had to pivot and shift how I was marketing because the world was shut down. Everybody was inside, online, and also the living by the water. I moved to Mexico. And so I wasn't going to be networking in a different language with people that earn differently than I do. And so I took what I used to do offline and modified it so that I could do it virtually and online in terms of networking and connecting with amazing people like yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
what I noticed was, of course, it was a necessity at the time because you couldn't commune with other people in person. And then it became overwhelm and overload and just it was just too much all the way around. And I also found that, of course, because a lot of people went into coaching during the pandemic, they were two by 2022, 2023, they were 2 and 3 years in and really struggling to find clients because they had bought into the belief that social media, in terms of posting 3 to 5 times a week or 3 times a day, was the way to get clients. And I, once the world opened back up, especially, was like, wait a minute. There is another way. And if you have truly been working in your business, and most of the people were, they were diligent about posting 3 times a week and thus and so forth, but they weren't getting any traction. They weren't getting any engagement. They weren't getting any clients. And I'm like, if you've
Mm-hmm.
been really working on your business 2 to 3 years and you don't have clients, there is a problem. And so I
There's a
went off to
big
solve it.
problem. Yeah, no, I love this. And, I love to remind my folks that, social media is a way of meeting people. It's not the only way, like our framework that we teach is meet people, talk to people, fit with people and coach the people. And one of the biggest issues that I see with social media content for the most part, and it's a struggle that I have as well, is like the conversation that you're having on social media. It's a different sort of a feeling because it's more of a consumption vibe. Like you're trying to get some people to consume things to then earn the trust and the rapport to like move up towards that in-person conversation, whether you're having it on DM or you're having it, over a Zoom call or what have you. And it's a little like taking if we were playing golf, this is the only sports metaphor that I've ever used, it's like taking the ball and putting it way far away from the green. And it can work, and it can work in volume, but boy, oh boy, better be ready to like build social media as a discipline on its own. And most people don't realize that. Like they think that it's just if I post a lot, or if I'm really diligent, I post frequently. And it's like, that's a little like going to an in-person event and then never talking to somebody. Right? Because you're
Or
not
just
engaging with the
put in the
person.
card, just passing out the business cards and expecting people to come to you. I really hated that in-person networking. And you're
Right.
right. Like as I was working on what I call the six-figure problem for those coaches that had been in it 2 and 3 years, and they were really only focused on social media and really afraid to talk to humans. I keep telling people we are just two humans separated
Mm-hmm.
by a computer screen. And to your analogy of golf and putting the ball so far away, it's like, do you know how many skills you have to be good at in order to proficient in order to make one social media post work? You've got to be a photographer and get the lights and the angles. You got to be a copywriter and get the hook. You got to like there are so many things that you have to get right in order to make one post. And then if you don't have an audience, people are still probably not going to see it, and then it dies after 24 hours and you got to do it again. And so I am with you on that, in that when we think about social media as the primary and or the only way, especially if we're a coach and we have a high ticket offer, I think we're just making it more difficult for ourselves. And I think a lot of people burn themselves out of the business, really good coaches that are amazing at what they do, when I, just like you, am like, please go talk to humans. Even if it's not in person, if you're like me and you're in Mexico or you're out in the woods somewhere and you don't have access to in-person networking events, you have to find a way to interact with other human beings.
1,000%. So, all right. Give us the farm. Like, tell us exactly what we need to do, differently. If, the whole fear of giving away the farm. We don't do that around here. There's no gatekeeping. So, like, what is your top advice for someone who's like, I am so committed to making six figures as a coach. I am so committed to not driving myself absolutely crazy with doing it through a business. What would you say they need to do next?
Well, I would say the first thing that you need to do is position yourself properly, meaning really take a stand for who you're going to serve and what you want to be known for. When you do that, and I know, like, I'm sure you've had other people on here that talk about niches, and we go crazy with the niches. And a lot of us, especially in the beginning, we're like, I don't have any clients now. If I start excluding any people, I'm not going to have any clients, or I'm definitely not going to have clients. But what you will find is when you take a stand for those people, it's going to be a lot easier for you to find people and for people to find you and to refer you and to really eliminate the competition. And I'll give you an example. I was on a call where I was guest coaching in somebody's group around this very topic. And when she came on for support around her I help statement, she was like, I help high achieving women not be burned out and something else. I can't remember the whole thing. That's the first thing. If it's too long and people can't remember it, they're not going to be able to talk about you when you're not in the room. So,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you say when you're introducing yourself and talking about your business, you need to make sure that people can remember it and repeat it. Okay, so that's one thing. When I was helping her with hers, I was like, okay, well, what kind of high achieving people? I have a background in physical therapy. I worked with a lot of physicians. They are high achieving. Are you talking about them? And she wasn't really specific, but what we found was that she had a background in engineering. And so we shifted it to women in STEM, and we took it off of burnout, which tends to bring disempowered people into our world. And we switched it to like, okay, well, why are they burned out and what do they want instead? They wanted to get the raises and recognition that they deserve.
Bang, bang. I love this. This is so good, because I call it broken wing messaging when you are making your message just speak to somebody who's the broken winged baby bird that you said it very eloquently, the disempowered person, right? And coaching is very much an empowered decision. Like when people are choosing to enroll with a coach, they're choosing you because they're ready to run at it. And I call that more eagle messaging, right? And what's really interesting is like the same person, I'm thinking about like this woman in engineering. She might have seen high achiever and it's like, okay, and it's like a bigger group. But when she sees the word STEM, she's like, well, that's definitely me. Right. And I love that tweak of the eagle messaging where it's like you're appealing to her most empowered self. And what's really interesting is you could have the exact same woman see the message of the high performer who's burned out, and she's going to bring the burned out version of herself to that conversation, right? As opposed to the empowered, like I want the thing at the top of the mountain kind of person. I love that.
Yeah.
So
And so once we just really honed in on her people, like even if we hadn't gotten to raises and recognition they deserved, and we went with women in STEM who were burned out, we're so much closer
totally.
because women in STEM, that's a very proud group of people. They really love being a part of that group and that community. And so it's easier to find her. And as soon as we made that switch, she was like, oh, now I know where all the people are. Like I can go to this conference and this conference, this conference, and this group of people. And I'm like, it's not as hard when you really just take a stand for people instead of saying vague and ambiguous things like high achieving women, and
Mm.
pick a group, right? So that's one of the things that I would say that people really would need to do. And that's first and foremost. Just that one tweak alone will tremendously help your business in terms of finding the people, getting to know all of those things. Then the other huge piece of it is partnering with people. I think about who's the peanut butter to your jelly. And
So cute. I love this. Who's the peanut butter to your jelly?
yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna remember that. That's good.
right. So who's the peanut butter to your jelly? And one of my favorite, just like a simple example, is a website designer and a copywriter. They go together
Okay.
like peanut butter and jelly because I used to work a lot with web designers because what would happen is the person's like, oh, I started my business. I need a website. Put your half down on the deposit. And the web designer's like, great, I'll build you this beautiful website. Where's the copy? Where are the words to go on the website? And the new business owner's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I just need a website. Yeah, but you need words for that website. So they'd be at a stalemate. And so what I did was say, okay, well, you need to partner with copywriters, or you could partner with a copywriter because the copywriter could create this amazing piece of copy, the copy for your sales page, but it still needs to be designed and put somewhere, right? And
Mm.
so those two go together like peanut butter and jelly. So who is the peanut butter to your jelly? If you are a weight loss coach, could you potentially partner with a personal trainer? Because you all are potentially doing different things. Maybe you're working on mindset and maybe you're working on their meal plan and sticking to, you said this is what you were going to eat that fuels your body, this is what you eat. And then this person helps them move their body in a way that helps them. So who is it that complements what you do, that serves the same demographic that you do without being in competition with what you do, so that you're able to really come to them as a value add and say, this is how I actually can help you. I'm not asking you to do something for me. This is what I'm helping you with, or I'm doing for you and or your people.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so we've got our positioning, we've got our power partnership. Anything else?
And I think the other one would be figuring out, so you've got the partners, you know who's the peanut butter to your jelly, and then what are the platforms? So some of us are writers. Some of us love to talk. Some of us don't mind being on camera. There's always going to be a platform that you can find where someone, just like in the case that we're doing right now, is having a platform where they need guests, where they need content. And you want to make sure that you are seen in your best light as your best self and that you actually look forward to doing it. And so, if you love to
Mm.
write, maybe you want to be a guest blogger or contribute to articles or newspapers, things like that. If you love being on camera, maybe people have YouTube channels or live streams. That's another form. Or if you just love running your mouth like I do and you don't mind a live conversation that's unscripted, maybe you go be a guest expert on podcasts.
I love that. You know, when I'm working with folks in my community enrolled in my programs, I think one of the biggest challenges is to do itis. Like they hear like here's a new to do, here's something else to do, and something else to do, and something else to do, and something else to do. And like I know I fell victim to that as well of like just it's almost like I'm getting personal with you here, but I think for me it was almost this void of this feeling like I'm not good enough and not enoughness. And because of that big void, I would hear, like, here's this new marketing strategy. Here's this new way to do it. Here's this new positioning. Here's this new thing, new thing, new thing, new thing, new thing. And it's almost like you're trying to like fill this black hole with more commitments to do more things on top of what you've already committed to do, to the point where I had to really like, I got existential about it, and I have a tattoo that says like do what matters on it. And I had this tattoo for literally six months before I put the other side with it, which is let it go. And it was
Mm,
just like learning to just be able to move with your strengths. One of my coaches always says like, hey girl, go strength to strength, always go strength to strength. And so it's more about like pivoting into the strength. And as you were talking about like, hey, like pick your medium, pick your platform, pick like that thing that really resonates for you. What was coming up for me is I'm like, pick the thing you can see yourself doing for like 4 hours a day for the next 5 years. Like that's the thing you
oof.
should probably dig into, because if you don't believe that you're gonna have to spend the next 5 years doing that, it's like, well, wait, why are you even starting a business?
Oh,
You
you
know?
you just hit the nail on the head from so many different angles. And I think one of the biggest things to note, like you might be listening to this and being excited about, oh, I don't have to be on social media. I can just go just share my expertise on somebody else's platform. And just like anything else, it takes time to get traction and momentum and to keep working. And so I think in addition to us finding worth and validation in our busyness, I think a lot of times we don't give enough time for us to get good at something, to get proficient at it, to really let the momentum build up. Because like anything, we have to overcome the initial friction for it to really take off. And so I would say, because I've fallen victim to it too, is give it time to work. You, if anything, this is what I often tell my clients is whatever you get excited about in our lovely little bubble here, where it's just you and me and you're excited and we're brainstorming and there's a lot of energy and you have good reasons for doing it, that's the thing. And then you have to actually go out and do the thing and so, overcome your own internal resistance, overcome external resistance, rejection, just falling flat on your face, maybe not quite getting it all the way right. Remember when you had the idea, because that's how you know it's for you, and then you just have to keep with it. But I think to your other point is that we don't prepare ourselves for it to take longer than we may want it to or hope for it to, and we don't prepare ourselves for it to suck a little bit sometimes in the beginning.
Totally. 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 Peter Drucker said that hope is not a strategy.
Heard that.
I love that reminder. And, you know, one of the things I'm actually thinking about this very show. So we're on the Amanda Kaufman show. Well, it wasn't always the Amanda Kaufman show. You know, I had another brand that I did when I very first, at the very beginning and in inception of this show, like 8 years ago. And like a trap that I've certainly fallen into, that I've gotten wise to, you know, more recently, is our tendency to like go after something and just expect that showing up to it for a long time with consistency is going to get us the result, right? And what I had to learn was like, no, actually there are particular goals that you're responsible for setting when you take on an initiative. And then there's key performance indicators that are telling you, like, you're indicating that you're on an upward trend. You're indicating that you are getting closer, closer, closer to the goal. And like this show being 8 years old, there were seasons where I honestly wasn't all that consistent about posting. I was all over the place about what the theme and the intent of the program was. And you know what happened is, like, about at the time of this recording, it was roughly about 6 months ago, maybe a little more, maybe 7 or 8. But I basically said, I'm gonna treat this like a real show. And like my coach was like, I called it a little show once in front of my coach. And he's like, never say that again. And I'm like, Actually, you're right. This is a big, awesome show that's designed to help people in a particular way with evaluating entrepreneurship. Okay, what are the key indicators that my show is doing better? What are the key indicators and key inputs, the primary activities of performance that I have to put into this, that it's not a little show, that it's an awesome show that I'm really excited to show up for, but also the show does the work that I want the show to do. And so I'm curious, like for the strategies that you teach people, what are those primary activities, like the key things that they would need to show up and do every day for a couple of hours? And what are some of the key indicators that they're on the right track, that they should keep going?
So good. Because, one of the things that I hear so often from our colleagues and coaches is like, it's not working. It's not working. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, were you working? Were you working the strategy?
No.
Right. I mean, like at some point, we have to be honest with ourselves and take responsibility for our results. And look at the data to say, were we being consistent? Were we doing the things that we want to say? Just like you said, what are the lead indicators versus the lag indicators? The lead indicators meaning the inputs that I can put in. What am I responsible for? I can't be responsible for a person listening. I can't make them put their ear pods in and listen to the channel.
Good for
But
you, listener, for doing it. You're here. You did
exactly.
that.
But I can, like some of my favorite YouTubers, I know when they are going to drop an episode. So
Mm.
I can do that. They have amazing hooks. Like these are the things that I can be responsible for. And then the people come. So when it comes to your guesting, what are some of the things that I can do? I can make sure that I'm making connections with amazing people. I can find the people that are the peanut butter to my jelly. That is something that I can do on a
Mm-hmm.
regular basis. What is something that's working? For example, if you're on a podcast and you offer a lead magnet or something like that, you can look at your email list the next day for the new subscribers. That's an indicator that it's working. That particular episode and what you said and how you helped promote it is an indicator that it's working. The clients come down the path, but did they come into your world, onto your list? Or if you're like me, I just want people to come play with me in the DMs and let's have conversations. So did you get people at least following you afterwards? Did they take you up on the offer to come say hi in the DMs? Maybe people might be shy, but if I look at the follower count, did it go up? I can always tell when a podcast episode has dropped because all of a sudden I'll be on Instagram like, where all those people come from? It's like a podcast dropped, and sure enough, I'll go to my email, and the podcast host will be like, "Your episode dropped today." Well, that's just awesome. That's an indicator that
Exactly.
it's working.
I think that that's so interesting, and I found the same thing with mine too. Is like my first explanation when I was seeing, for example, rises in Instagram headcount is I'm like, finally unlocked the code of social media. Like I was first taking like all the credit. It's like the algorithm finally loves me back. And then I realized I was like, oh no, 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 actually. This thing that my power partner did have an influx, and it like motivated people extra to do the thing. And I think the biggest myth right now in the industry is that the algorithm is going to do all the work for you, and you just need to like be positioned to catch the wave of the algorithm. And it's like, maybe not, maybe that's not.
Well, but even if you're a coach, if you're an expert, like that's not your jam anyway, for the most part. It's not around creating content. It's about being an amazing coach. And so unless you want to become an internet influencer or a content creator and compete against those folks, that's not really how I recommend using social media. What I help people do is think about like when your power partner did whatever and you had that influx of people, when I'm on podcasts, when I speak in groups, when I'm on stages, the people are following me. Now it reminds me a little bit of like circa 2019 when people followed you because they were really interested in hearing what you had to say, not because you were dancing and pointing and shaking a tail feather on the platform.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Oh my
So I
gosh.
have way less people, following me than most, but I have higher engagement because the people are actually looking for me on the platform. And this is how you make yourself algorithm.
Totally. I love this. TaVona, I could talk to you for 4 hours, but we did not book that. So, what's the best way for people to follow you?
Yeah, I just like I said, I would love for you to come to my Instagram at TaVona Denise and just find me in the DM. Say hello. I do check the requests, so you won't be left in there more than probably a day.
That's awesome. That's so good. And we'll be including the links to TaVona's other sites and social profiles and all that good stuff in the show notes. And dear listener, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And go ahead and take 30 seconds to leave us a honest review because TaVona really brought it. But seriously, those reviews really help people make the decision about whether they want to listen to the episode or not. Thank you so much for your support in that. And in fact, if you've got some friends who are maybe a little stuck in their marketing, stuck in getting the sales in, and they're a coach, go ahead and grab the link to this episode and send it to 3 of your friends like that, because we're here to make the coaching industry rise up. And I'm so excited that you were here today. Go ahead and share that love. We'll see you on an upcoming episode. And thank you so much for coming, TaVona.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. Bye bye.